K-State leads this year's series 2-1, and they ousted Kansas in the Big 8 semifinals by 15 points. Each team won on the other's home court in earlier games this year, and Kansas controls. Kevin Pritchard has.
And immediately they're in that 3-2 zone, Kansas State, and the prime objective of Kansas will be to get that defense to spread out so they can slip the ball inside to Danny Manning.
See the collapse on Manning. Then he had 4 men within 2 feet of him.
Yep, and it's going to be awfully difficult to get the ball to Manning because they cut down the passing angle.
Geldner misses the long-range shot, but that's what Kansas will need to open up those entry passes.
And they are going to force, I think, Kansas to take that shot in the corner, and that's not an easy shot in this big building.
Now this is Richmond. Quickly the switch is Piper, and Milt Newton come out to double team him. Ron Meyer doesn't shoot that much. Flips it out to Will Scott. Oh, mercy. He has now hit 13 of his last 14 three-point plays.
He's one of the best standstill outside shooters I've seen in years. I wonder if he can put it on the floor and at least one dribble and do the same thing.
Scott has been on a torrid pace in the NCAA. He is 18 of 25 from three-point range in this, the 4th game.
The key man in this Kansas State defense is Mitch Richmond. Sometimes he's up on the top, sometimes he goes back into the paint.
Newton gets that tip off the Piper shot, and it's a 3-2 ball game.
Now he is a key man for Kansas. He's got to really help on the glass, particularly on the offensive board. Slip inside that Kansas State zone for offensive rebounds.
Richmond back outside. This is Steve Henson, the sophomore point guard. Henson had 12 assists in the win over Purdue the other night. Tying a career high. Richmond with Newton on him. Foul. Lon Kruger, 35 years old, 2nd year as the head coach of his alma mater, Kansas State. He comes from Silver Lake, Kansas, about an hour away from Manhattan.
You know, and this team, I think everybody says, and me included, this team reflects his personality. I mean, this man is always under control, and he's tough, and yet he's resilient. Boy, he doesn't let anything bother him.
Richmond at the line. He is now 22 out of 26 in the NCAA tournament. He's having a superb run.
And he's had some great games against Kansas, and the real problem for Larry Brown will be, do I double team him or can Milt Newton handle him one-on-one?
Manning with a rebound. Richmond gets 1 of 2. It's 4-2, 17:52 to go. First half. From the corner, Geldner has to hit the shot. He's 0 for 2. And they're going to collapse on Manning all afternoon until he starts hitting, he and Piper.
Now, one of the problems for outside shooters when they come into a building like this is adjusting to the background. This is a big, huge building.
First time, as a matter of fact, that Kansas has played up here.
Right, and you lose the perspective for outside shooters. There's no background to shoot to.
Richmond over Newton. That's for 2. Rebound. Richmond loses it. Bledsoe has it for K-State. Puts it on the floor. Up, he'll shoot 2. That's the first foul on Newton's 2nd team foul.
Here's what they're looking at. It's so huge that when you play in a college arena, the backgrounds are a lot closer. And outside shooters in a key game start to really double clutch and start to aim a little bit. And it takes a little while to free up, particularly in the beginning of a ball game, to get accustomed to shooting against no background. It's like playing in the schoolyard at night.
Bledsoe, not a good free throw shooter, 52%. Matter of fact, he hit 1 of 2 late the other night, and his eyes just got huge. You couldn't believe it. There's Larry Brown on the bench in his 5th year at Kansas.
And this is, in my opinion, his best coaching job ever, including the professional ranks. I mean, he turned chaos into sanity this year.
Larry said yesterday, every time he goes on a road trip, he packs his suitcase as if he's going recruiting because he thinks it's going to be the last game they play. Here's Henson. All right, 3-on-2. Traveling.
That's the type of defense Danny Manning's going to be facing. Just for him to receive the pass will be a major accomplishment. They'll have guys shooting at him as he's receiving the pass and coming from underneath trying to knock the ball away.
Larry Brown off the bench giving an earful to Jeff Gildner about getting back on defense. 4-2, low-scoring game. We played 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Gildner doesn't want the shot this time. And again, Bledsoe and Henson back double-teaming Manning. There's the shot from the corner, Milt Newton.
He is probably the best outside shooter that they have from the foul line down to the baseline. And if they start giving him that shot, he could be a big factor in this game.
Richmond and the man-for-man Kansas defense. Lon Kruger said he thought Kansas had one of the 3 best man-for-man defenses in the country. The other 2 were Duke, which all of you saw yesterday, and Southwest Missouri State by Charlie Schoonauer. Another foul. This foul's on Mitch Richmond.
It's going to take some excellent blocking out by Kansas to keep a very aggressive Kansas State team off the boards, led by that man, Mitch Richmond. I'll tell you, he gives an extra dimension to the quick forward spot with his leaping ability.
Jeff Gildner is going to get a spot on the bench, and Larry Brown wants him right next to him. And they're going to chat a little bit. Scooter Barry's come in.
Scooter Barry gives them a point guard. That's Gildner on the bench trying to get his head together and saying, hey, I want to do something in this tournament. He's had some problems, but Pritchard is still up at the top of that offense.
There's Pritchard. Barry hits the jumper, 6'4" Kansas.
They're not going out on that baseline and going to play those men. So that shot is going to be wide open. And Barry just moved in a lot closer to the hoop than Gildner did.
Scooter Barry's dad is Rick Barry. There's a traveling call on K-State.
One of the things Larry Brown is concerned about in this ball game is, needless to say, Danny Manning getting in foul trouble. And Lon Kruger has not elected to go inside to test that, to try and pick up a couple of early fouls again.
What a difference in Friday night's first games here in Pontiac. Kansas jumped out to a 17-4 lead in its win over Vanderbilt. Meanwhile, K-State fell behind 10-zip to Purdue. And they were down at the half by 9, still came back to win. Manning shot no good.
And he had to take the shot quickly right off the catch.
Scott for 2. Boy, that's a rarity. It's a 2-pointer.
When he gets the ball at the letters, it's 2 points. You have to be sitting right a one-arm distance away from him to give him any trouble. Look at Richmond just back down inside there. And look at him put the body on Manning to keep him off the offensive board.
Well, Scooter Barry has given Kansas something that Jeff Gildner did not to open the game. He's 2 for 2. Gildner was 0 for 2.
Well, he's given him an awareness that that shot is there, and he's got enough confidence to take it.
Richmond rejected.
The man-to-man Venus flytrap defense in action. They filtered him to the shot blocker, Danny Manning.
Richmond averaging 25.3 points and 8.7 rebounds in the tournament so far. His low point output of the season came in the K-State loss at home, the final game at the Hearn Fieldhouse in Manhattan, when he was held to 11 points by Milt Newton and Keith Harris of Kansas on 4 of 17 shooting. This is Richmond with the ball. Skip pass, Scott for 3. It doesn't end.
I will tell you that Mitch Richmond has that man Scott spotted up every time he puts the ball on the floor to see where his defender is, and he's ready to unload to Scott.
Scott has now hit 14 of his last 15 three-point shots. Will Scott.
You have to have your best athlete at the top of a 3-2 zone, and that's why Richmond is out there, because he can quickly get to the shooter and quickly get back to help on the rebound.
Manning, about the second time he's touched the ball, and there's an expected result.
When he gets the ball and nobody's around him, it's 2.
10-9, 13-40 to go first half. Now Scooter Barry is going to try and play in Scott's face. Bledsoe kicks it out, didn't get there quick enough. 3 for 3.
Scott for 3.
15 for 16 in the last 3 games.
I think Scooter Barry made a mistake that time. There's no reason to go down and double team on Bledsoe. You better stick in Scott's jersey.
Scott from Kansas City, Missouri. Here's a steal and a foul. Scooter Barry.
Kansas foul number 10.
This Kansas
Berry
State zone is as active as you ever saw.
73% from three-point range and 15 of his last 16. Like many of Lon Kruger's players, he's a JC transfer. But what a performance he's had.
He has been just like a Saturday night special. He had a hot barrel this whole tournament.
12-10. Back it goes to Bledsoe. Foul on Manning.
Kansas foul number 25, Manning, his first.
You're going to see now, it comes down the sideline and into Mitch Richmond. And the next thing you know, he spots the middle wide open as Manning went down in that Venus flytrap defense once again. One block is enough for Richmond. He finds the open man.
Bledsoe's a little exasperated. He is, as we said, not a good free throw shooter. 52% for the year.
But he'll be an important player here. He has to at least hold even with Chris Piper on the boards. And so far, he's kind of been doing that.
0 for 4. 12-10. Kansas State on top. Scooter Berry gets by Henson, kicks it back to Pritchard. Quick release. Manning loses.
They've got Manning changing his rhythm a little bit. That was extra quick.
Richmond kicks it back to Scott. He's 3 for 3. Finally misses. Rebound. Bledsoe traveling.
Number 45,
Substitutions for Kansas now. Keith Harris is going to come in for the Jayhawks and replace Scooter Berry. And Fred McCoy, who was a starter earlier in the year for Kansas State, is now in the lineup replacing Ron Meyer. There's McCoy.
Well, Harris is one of Kansas's best defensive players, may be the best, but not an exceptional outside shooter. And it looks like they're going to put Piper on the perimeter.
Newton. They got McCoy shoving off underneath.
And McCoy represents for Kansas State a wide body, a guy that can take up an awful lot of room in close to the basket in their blockouts. That really will help him control the defensive boards.
Played nearly 8 minutes, only 12-10. Surprised by the low score?
No, I think both teams, they're not particularly interested in fast breaks unless it's definitely there off steals or something like that. They're not playing tempo basketball. These are two finesse teams. You got to find openings in each one's defense.
Back to Pritchard for 3. Piper, long rebound. He puts it up off the glass. Offensive foul. Chris,
I hate to be a big guy rebounding in there. You take so many shots, and you grab a rebound, a little guy slides up underneath you, and they call an offensive foul on you. Watch him come with the rebound. He goes straight up. The man came underneath him and made him go off balance. That's tough to do. That guys never get a break.
Listen to this, spoken from the body of a 6'7" former All-Pro and Hall of Fame.
I think referees are all guards.
12-10, 11:30 to go. Oops. Here comes Pritchard of K-State. Piper, they look for Manning. He pops out along the baseline. Tries that off-balance two-minute jumper and hits it.
That time he sighted the basket, had it well sighted before he released the ball.
Tied at 12. Manning's got 4. He had an unbelievably torrid start against Vanderbilt. 25 first half points on 12 and 16. You don't expect him to get that kind of point tonight.
Because he's going to be forced into more outside shooting. And this man right now is being harassed all over the place by some great one-on-one defense by Kansas.
Jeff Geldner back into the lineup now, replacing Milt Newton. And an unexpected 4th turnover for K-State early. Tied at 12, midway through the first half of play. Winner goes to Kansas City, joining Oklahoma as the second Big 8 team in the Final Four. And, of course, Duke is in. Arizona, North Carolina coming up later this afternoon from Seattle. Piper. That'll open it up.
I'll tell you, he does not shoot often. I don't know why he doesn't take more shots, but when he starts shooting, he's an exceptional shooter. Or at least it appears to me he's an exceptional shooter.
Piper averaging just under 5 points per game for the year. Now Scott is left side. He runs the baseline. Richmond looks in the corner for it. Richmond rims out. Bledsoe rebound. Putback is good.
Now Piper let Bledsoe just run right around him for that rebound. Bledsoe has got such quick feet to get to the position while the ball is in the air before it hits the rim.
Tied at 14, 9:44 to go first half. Quick pass to Harris in the corner. The shot is good.
That's where the shots are going to be all afternoon long, along that baseline. That's where Danny Manning's going to have to find his, and any of the other people who go down in that corner will be able to get an outside shot off.
Now Geltner right in the face of Scott. Richmond dumps it off to McCoy. Hacked by Pritchard.
The offense of Kansas State flows through Mitch Richmond.
14, Pritchard, his first.
That's the 6th team foul on KU. And Fred McCoy goes to the line.
Number 44, McCoy, will shoot for Kansas State 2 shots.
Didn't this guy come in the other night and have himself a ball game? Just spread right out and was able to play one-on-one close to the hoop. He came up with 8 big points.
Part-time started this year, then gave way to Ron Meyer. Meyer started, and McCoy came in and started for a while, and Meyer's been the starter for the last 10, 12 games.
Timeout.
McCoy hits 2. Meyer getting ready to come back in. Lon Kruger in his 2nd year as head coach at K-State. Interesting, I was reading in the paper this morning, he played ball in Israel after his graduation for the Israel Sabres, and his coach was Herb Brown, Larry Brown's older brother. Alley-oop! Danny Manning.
Well, if you can't get the ball inside a zone defense, you can always go over the top, particularly if you got a guy like Danny Manning that's got the good leap.
Manning for the year is averaging 25 points per game, but in 3 previous meetings with K-State has yet to hit his average. McCoy for K-State. We're tied again.
Boy, he's got that wide body at work again. He just spreads out. He's one of the best positioned big guys you see in college basketball. He knows how to get it and keep it.
And again, with Richmond the point man in the zone, K-State in that 3-2. Manning, and look at the strip. Richmond got it away. Manning gets it back and puts it through. He's got 8.
He had the ball about 8 feet from the hoop, and there were 4 people around him. And they stripped him of the ball, only Meyer just threw a bad pass back inbound.
Manning now 4 of 6. McCoy takes the jumper from the free throw line. Gets the roll, drops in, tie again. Scott has 11, 3 of those on 3-pointers. Manning with 8 points now, the leading scorers in the ball game. Tied at 20, 8 minutes to go. Winner gets Duke next Saturday in Kansas City on CBS. Kansas has already played Duke once this year. They went to overtime in Lawrence. And Duke won it. Gelder passes on the shot. They look for Manning. He was open. The pass a little too high. Gelder tries to save it on the line. 3 turnovers now for Kansas, 4 for Kansas State.
They moved the ball around very nicely that time against State's defense.
Number 10, Marion for
Just
Kansas.
the pass was a little bit too high because Manning really had great position about 4 feet from the hoop.
Gelder had not become a starter until the middle of this season, and Larry Brown said, bless his heart, he's really played nervously in the tournament. So he's going to give him a rest now and put Scooter Berry back in. Richmond for 3. Kansas State is the 3rd best 3-point shooting team in the United States. That's coming into the tournament. And they've excelled at that tactic throughout. 23-20 K-State. In contrast, Kansas is not a good 3-point shooting outfit. Here's Manning. Buster Glover, who's in the lineup for K-State, number 11, another of the JC transfers, comes out.
And one of the ways that they out-rebound you on defense, Kansas State, is they send the guards down to help out on every shot attempt.
Is that an unusual tactic?
Well, teams like to keep their guards out around half court, maybe to start a fast break, and you don't find too many guards that want to get hit in the forehead.
I think that's the most important point.
That's right. But I guess if you play for Lon Kruger, you got to take a few hits in the forehead. I know Henson's willing to do it.
Steve Henson has the ball right now to McPherson, Kansas. Richmond from Fort Lauderdale. Richmond's in his first year at K-State, transferring from Moberly, Missouri Junior College. That's for three.
What great defense that time by Kansas. A motion offense, and they kept forcing Kansas State out further.
Harris. Manning works from the left side. No. McCoy rebound for K-State.
And look at 5 jerseys back there, inside challenging for the defensive rebound.
Matter of fact, Kansas State was out-rebounded by Purdue. Despite the win Friday night, it was only the 9th time all year that they have been out-rebounded. McCoy, double team. Rubber, mismatch over Harris. Good.
When you rush out, and the ball goes from inside outside, you better rush out low because you can get right by that rush man.
Largest lead of the game now. Kansas State by 5. 5:20 to go, first half. Ron Meyer and Danny Manning elbowing each other. Meyer tries to front him. Manning puts it up and gets the roll.
Not much room to slip passes through. You really kind of have to penetrate and dish it off a little bit. But the more shots Manning gets, of course, the better off Kansas is going to be. They've had mucho troubles in prior games just getting Manning the ball.
Rare time that Kansas is in a hurry across the timeline. Now they settle it down. This is the Kansas team that had expectations of a national title back in October, but they had Joe Young declared academically ineligible. There's Pritchard driving all the way. No basket, offensive foul. Ball made by Dicky Pifaro. K-State with an 11-10 rebound edge early on now. 25-22. Steve Henson with the ball, sophomore. Carlos Diggins has come into the lineup for Kansas State, number 25. Another junior college transfer. There are 7 on the squad of Lon Kruger. So K-State now has Henson, Bledsoe, Diggins, McCoy, and Will Scott. Mitch Richmond's getting a rest. Manning is still in the lineup for Kansas. Henson, 2-pointer. Scooter Berry takes it away from McCoy. 3:40 to go at halftime. There's Richmond with only 4 points so far in the game. Berry gives a look in to Manning. Bledsoe fronting him. Piper kicks out. McCoy says, take it if you want it. Pritchard. Manning. Newton with a good rebound. Stripped to the ball. Berry saves it.
I'll tell you, that was a great rebound by Milt Newton. As soon as the penetration happened, everybody went to the boards for Kansas State, but nobody put a body that time on Newton.
Pritchard. Bledsoe for K-State. We're live at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, where Kansas and Kansas State are meeting for the 4th time this season. Largest lead of the game has been 5. That just moments ago, 25-20. Kansas hitting 46%, K-State 53%. Scott with 11 and Manning for 10, the leading scorers so far. Tight and taut, just like we expected. Traveling, both men had, for Kansas, had their hands on the ball.
You can say truly about this game, it has been an exceptional defensive battle. And you're going to see right now 4 jerseys in there for Kansas, and Milt Newton and Danny Manning get tied up, and Manning may have had his foot on the floor, but Newton was moving both of his.
K-State to inbound. Richmond back in the lineup. Double team. They switch. Richmond gets rid of it, finds Bledsoe.
He is a creator of offense for other people. That's why I think he could be a guard in the Pro League. Does an outstanding job of reading the defense and finding an open man. Very unselfish, and that's what puts Kansas State out in front. His passing.
Foul on Bledsoe. Saw the coming up at halftime, just 2 minutes and 2 seconds from right now. Back to Jim Nance, James Brown in our New York studio, and a feature on Sean Elliott, the Arizona kid. As Lute Olson's team takes on Dean Smith in North Carolina, coming up at the conclusion of our game as the road to the Final Four continues here on CBS. This, I think, is as much fun as all of us have at any point during the year. Not that anybody's going to accuse us of labor at any other time. Pritchard, boy, his three-point shooting, Tommy, last year at 40% as a number 2 guard, and having to take over at the point guard is really affected him this year.
Well, he's got double responsibility. He's got to run the offense and then also find his own offense. And I don't know if he's prepared for it, although he's done a much better job of it towards the tail end of the season. That new role, he's become more accustomed to it.
Berry quickly out on Scott. Scott fishes off. Bledsoe not ready for it. Berry has it. 27-22, under 90 seconds to go in the half. Rejected in rather emphatic fashion by Will Scott. He looked like Mike Brown.
Mike Brown, huh? Here's one of the few fast break attempts, but they have 3 people back. They angle them off, and that just allowed the setup for Scott to come in and block it.
Piper, and you saw Scott go down and double him. Now Pritchard tries to penetrate, kicks it back outside to Newton. Good. That's for 2.
He is, again, that best shooter from down inside that free throw line, out around 18 feet.
Milt Newton was born in the Virgin Islands and was the captain of the Virgin Islands team in the Pan Am game last summer in Indianapolis. Here's Scott for 3 again.
Scott.
Oh, it doesn't end.
Wow, he comes off
2.
quick.
They changed it.
2?
Doesn't make any difference.
Must have missed it by a half-inch.
He thought it was a 3, and we did too. 29-22, largest lead of the game. There's the correction. Berry for 3. Well, if you like a game with defense, we've got it for you. That's the end of the first half with our score. K-State 29, Kansas 27. Underway with the second half, 29-27. Kansas State has Henson with the ball now. Ron Meyer, Bledsoe, Richmond, and Will Scott, the starting 5. And Kansas still in the man-for-man with Pritchard, Manning, Piper, Milt Newton, and Jeff Geldner is in to start. Now he's out in the face of Will Scott. Peek in for Meyer. They kick it out to Henson. That's for 3. Got it. Henson for 3.
Just as you think that you do not have to go out and you can hang around in the paint, the next thing you know, they'll kill you from the outside.
As a team, Kansas State hitting 60% from three-point range throughout the tournament. They're better than that today. Geldner takes the shot. No, he's 0 for 3. Newton missed time to leap, and Henson has the long rebound. Kicks it back out. And they'll go into the half-court offense. Largest lead of the game, 5. K-State has equaled that now. Meyer has the shot open. The lead is 7.
And Piper tried to deny, and once the pass went past his hand, it was an easy two for Meyer.
In this half, first basket of the game for Henson, first for Meyer. Danny Manning gets 2 more and is fouled. Danny Manning wears a wristband.
Kansas State foul.
It says number 23 on it. That's in honor of his senior teammate, Archie Marshall. One of the devastating things that happened to this team was when Marshall went down with a serious knee injury in December in the Garden against St. John's. Archie Marshall had to sit out all of last year after a knee injury sustained in the semifinal match against Duke in Dallas. Marshall is on the bench. And there was a terrific moment in Kansas's last home game when Marshall came on for about 10 seconds, made a reappearance in a Kansas uniform, took a 30-foot shot, came out of the game with a standing ovation. Number 23. Meyer dishes off to Bledsoe.
What an intelligent play that time. They've got Danny Manning defending against Bledsoe. They feel that he can be a shot blocker and cheat off Bledsoe, and that time Myers read it perfectly.
Piper hits 2.
As a man that's been given that shot, every single time the Kansas has had the ball, and if he starts hitting that, this score will change quickly.
Spots up for the 3 again. Shot short. Newton is mistiming his leaps just a little bit and barely got that rebound.
May have mistimed it, but he hung up there.
That's right. Grabbed the air hook. Manning for 2.
He could have flown a trailer on him for advertising. Rent himself out.
He's not quite one of your wide bodies, though.
No. He was up there a long time.
36-33. Scott misses. He's 3 of 6 in the game for 3 points today. Oh, Fisher lets it go.
Number 10, Berry in for Kansas.
Scooter Berry coming in for Jeff Geldner. Berry had a fine first half.
Made a couple of key shots and stepped inside to make the shots easier for himself along the baseline, something that Geldner did not do so far in the second half. He's been taking the tough long jumpers instead of getting inside the three-point line.
Richmond from the baseline.
Richmond.
Well, never took it into the defense, and when he turned to the baseline that time, his shooting hand wide open.
Lead back at 5. The largest Kansas lead has been 2, that on several occasions in the first half. Manning. Oh, just a nice soft touch.
When Milt Newton is in that corner, they have to go out and attack him, and that opened up the passing into Danny Manning.
Manning with 16. Leads all scorers now. Bledsoe. Over Manning, too strong. Off of Chris Piper, K-State ball.
I tell you, Chris Piper is one fundamentally sound basketball player. He had Meyer on his back and blocked out, only just couldn't control the ball. Look at how they jump out on that man to keep him out of the paint.
And look at Richmond find the open man after the double team comes out.
As soon as a double team develops, that's the signal for the other Kansas defenders to play a little bit of a zone. And Richmond is reading that beautifully all afternoon.
40-35. Tempo has picked up a little bit in this half, though.
And there's Piper once again wide open on the baseline. He could be a star in this ball game because they are going to give him that shot.
Kevin Pritchard guarding Steve Henson. Scott, jumper no good. Berry rebound. Kansas on the run.
You don't see Kansas State force many shots. No basket, Wally. No basket.
Offensive? No, it's on Steve Henson. So Scooter Berry will go to the free throw line. where, as expected, the son of Rick Barry is an outstanding free throw shooter.
And here he comes up, splits the defense as they were trying to play. The defense was trying to play the wingman, play him for the pass, but he alertly just took it strong to the hoop.
Number 11.
Lincoln Minor, who was a one-time starting point guard for Kansas, makes his first appearance in the game, and he replaces Kevin Pritchard. It was Pritchard who replaced Minor at point guard. Well, you talk about a guy with a negative stat. Poor Lincoln Minor has tried 17 three-pointers this year, and he's 0 for the season. He's got to look at Will Scott and say, how does he do that? Keith Harris back in the lineup now and replacing Chris Piper.
A good adjustment here by both coaches to try and allow their big guns to have a little stamina coming down the stretch. And Harris will play Bledsoe. This man out on the top is being harassed. Good ball pressure by Kansas. They're known for it.
Buster Glover's in the lineup now for K-State. Richmond. Newton. Oh, got it.
Richmond.
When he gets that shooting hand freed up and he's moving to his right, he's going to outleap anybody his own size. He's a freak player. Jerry West was a freak player. Had such long arms. You have to match them up to try and take that away from him. He'd just go right around you with his speed. That's what Mitch Richmond is.
Milt Newton has that one. Mitch Richmond was laughing yesterday at the press conference, said his name has been butchered by more people in this tournament, including us. He's been called Rich Mitchman, Milt Richmond, Rich Miltman, and it's Mitch Richmond.
I'm going home in front of the mirror and practice.
I like what Curry Kirkpatrick referred to him as yesterday, the wicked Mitch of the West. Try that.
He doesn't have a pointy hat, though, with a broom.
Yeah, try that in a hurry about 6 times at 11:30 at night. Harris with a steal.
And that is why Larry Brown claims that Keith Harris is his best defensive player. Took the ball away from Richmond.
That's the first Kansas lead since midway through the first half. And they're on a 14-6 run now.
Neither team wants to go back to their state.
Lincoln Minor. Oh, what a defensive jam by Henson. Steve Henson. McPherson, Kansas, all-state player, recruited by both Kansas and K-State. McPherson not far from the increasingly well-known Berg of Lindsborg, where all the Lundquist family is split today.
Yes, yes.
Half in purple and half in blue, K-State and Kansas.
You're not revealing, by any chance, your feelings in this one, are you?
Not at all.
Okay.
I'm a Bethany College fan. Manning again. 18 points for Danny Manning. He's yet to reach his season average against K-State, but he's on the way now.
They're having the ability to slip the ball inside to him a lot easier in this half.
Buster Glover with the ball.
And that's because Kansas, K-State is having to extend their defense a little bit.
Richmond gets 2 more.
There's no way you can let him come back to the right. You must send him to the left and make him bring the ball back to you. Every time he takes it and you free up his shooting hand, it's 2 points.
12-19 to go in the ball game. Winner joins Oklahoma and Duke in the Final Four. The 4th part of the puzzle to be determined later this afternoon. Arizona, North Carolina next here on CBS. Brent and Billy are out there. Richard, no.
That's a shot he has to hit. Richmond was down inside the defense.
Glover for 3. Pritchard with a rebound. And Kansas on the run.
Kansas State has been in this 3-2 zone the entire ball game.
We saw them against Rod Strickland and DePaul. There's a rejection by Bledsoe. Barry. This same defense took a point man, one of the best point mans in America, Rod Strickland, and controlled him in the win over DePaul. It can do a lot of things.
And it can collapse easily and go out and extend and do things like this, block shots. Now that's an exceptional zone defense that can be that aggressive.
And of course, against Purdue, they used some man-to-man, some box and one, but primarily the same defense.
Yes, they did, but they took away some of the outside shots of Purdue. They took away, they made McCants step out 3 or 4 feet, then he's used to getting the ball, and that affected his shooting. So all kinds of good things that they've learned to do with this zone defense of Lon Kruger.
Number 21, Newton.
Milt Newton comes back in. Purdue, of course, was heavily favored over K-State on Friday night. There was a funny story. The Kansas State team went to a dinner on Thursday night at a local restaurant. There was a huge sign there that said, "Welcome Purdue." It turned out that the Purdue team had made reservations for Saturday night, assuming they would be here. K-State said, "Well, if it's all right with you, we'll use their reservations." They went back and had dinner there last night.
Sounds good to me.
Banner had been changed. 45-44, 10:50 to go in the ball game.
Look how far they make Richmond pop out just to get the ball.
Richmond works the baseline, double team. Milt Newton gets it. He and Manning collaborated.
They forced him to his left, and he had nowhere to go.
Pritchard 0 for 5 in the game. Has the ball now. Manning for 3. He can hit that. Doesn't this time. But Piper with a rebound. Foul on Henson.
Here's a man that really gets very little credit.
Kansas State
In
foul
fact,
number 12.
one point in the season they were booing Chris Piper because they expected so much from him, but he'd been plagued with injuries. And right now he's playing with a muscle and the stomach muscle that needs to be reattached at the end of the season. That's how tough a competitor he is.
Minor back in for Kansas. We're at the Pontiac Silverdome Midwest Regional Final between the number 4 seed and the number 6 seed. And it's been a tight ball game all the way. Largest lead of the game has been 7. 3-point field goals. Kansas now 1 of 8. Berry has the only one. And Kansas State 5 of 11. 45-44, 10-15 to go before one of these teams joins Oklahoma as the second team from the Big 8 in Kansas City. That's the 3, and that's good. Milt Newton.
He is going to be the man. That's where the shots are going to be.
Richmond getting a rest. Newton has 11 points. He was held to only 4 in the win over Vandy. First time he had not been in double figures in a long time. Taken away by Keith Harris, the sometimes enigmatic sophomore from Santa Monica, California. Pritchard, he's 0 for 6. Boy, he's off the mark today. I think Larry's not bumped.
Foul number 12, Henson, his 3rd.
And they say he's not coming back, right?
He says all I can do is wait until Danny Manning leaves, and I'm still there next year, and the rumors will stop.
I think Larry Brown, to spell that rumor, as a former coach myself, I think he's met all his challenges. I think he'd like a little serenity in his life, and I think he feels he's got it at Kansas.
It's not exactly the focal point of publicity in the United States.
No, but Larry has been, in the headlines wherever he's been. And I think, he's not a kid anymore. That's great stuff for young coaches. But right now, I think he wants to have a good career and enjoy himself.
Kevin Pritchard gets one. 49-44. Mitch Richmond. Now it's my turn. Mitch Richmond is back in.
It's contagious.
It sure is. It sure is. Away from the ball. Richmond. And Milt Newton was celebrating. I don't know whether he suckered him into the foul or what.
Richmond.
He was out there trying to set a pick.
His 2nd.
And college basketball, you react to those bumps every once in a while, you get a whistle.
Are you saying they call it tight?
I'll tell you, I didn't see it, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm being diplomatic.
All right. 49-44, 9:15 to go. Keith Harris. They might get Manning over the top. Yep, they did.
You can see that the 3-2 defense of Kansas State now has been extended a little bit, and they're able to slip the ball more inside than they were in the first half, particularly the players other than Manning.
Full court press employed by Kansas. Mark Dobbins has come off the bench for K-State, number 41. He joins Henson, Richmond, Ron Meyer, and Will Scott. Will Scott, 13 first-half points. Now, Pritchard is out watching him at the three-point line. They've been denying him access to the ball. He has no points in this half. Richmond looks his way, pulls up, and takes the jumper himself. Long rebound, Pritchard.
Well, they had him moving to his left again.
Manning playing way out. Asks for the ball. Oh, it's taken away, Scott. Lincoln Minor just wasn't paying attention. Scott will shoot a couple. Manning gets his third foul. Let's go back and look at Larry Brown, who was trying to call timeout with Manning out at the point.
Number 24, Piper in for Kansas.
Recognize the symptoms?
Oh, I would tell you.
14, Scott will shoot for
I used to
Kansas
shake
State.
over water
2
buckets.
shots.
I heard that.
Oh, just get frustrated.
Manning has picked up his third. He has played the entirety of the game. Minor's out after that last miscue. And Scooter Berry, who's had a fine game, comes back in. Gets a pat on the head from Larry Brown. And Scott's at the free throw line.
Minor went out and played some pretty aggressive defense and helped Kansas get this 4-point lead.
Scott, an 83% free throw shooter. Lead down to 3, 8:25 to go in the ball game.
Somebody just does not want to go back to Kansas tomorrow. This is an extraordinary situation. You know, it's just not losing in the tournament. It's having to go back into the States after you lost to your competitor. That's a tough go.
So much riding on this. There's Pritchard, who's really been cold. Berry. Shot clock at 15. Berry. That's 11 points for Scooter Berry. He's had an outstanding game, Tommy.
Well, he has stepped up to the challenge and then some. And that's what Larry Brown has been looking for from Geldner or anybody. Somebody to take charge other than Manning.
The last time these two teams played in the Big 8 semifinal, there's a three-pointer. Scott still hasn't hit from the field in this half. The last time these two teams played, Pritchard was out with strained knee ligaments. Scooter Berry had to start and was so nervous, he really didn't contribute. But what a difference he's made in this game. 51-46, 7:20 to go in the ball game. Scott goes for the steal, tipped back in by Newton.
Oh, that's pretty aggressive zone defense, but you can go out and make almost steals and passes to the wing.
3 points.
Wow, what a shot that was. Now, Will Scott went out and tried to gamble on a steal back to the point, and by doing that, the ball got down into the corner. That's also his responsibility when Newton's down there, and he never got close to Newton.
Largest lead of the game now for Kansas, underneath the Meyer. Manning, playing with 3 fouls, has to back away. Goes to the floor, ties it up, possession arrow, Kansas. And Manning shows a little enthusiasm as he gets up.
Manning had to be very careful, and Meyer pulled a smart move on Manning, gave him a fake, step around, and Manning also a very smart move not to foul and pick up his fourth.
Field goal percentage in this half. Kansas at 53%, but they started off hitting 8 of their first 10. They cooled off a little bit. The lead is at 8, and we've got 6:17 to go. Kansas trying to get back into the Final Four for the first time since '86 when they lost to Duke in the semifinals. And what irony that would be, because the winner of this game takes on Duke in Kansas City. There's a turnover. That's 8. on Kansas. Lon Kruger's team is trying to get into the Final Four for the first time since 1964. Kansas has won 1 national championship. K-State never has. They've been in the Final Four 3 times. Scott for 3. Yes. He had Barry in his face that time.
I'll tell you, he ran Barry off 3 picks. That's how he got open. And Barry almost got to the shot, but Will Scott, such a quick release shooter.
Kansas State 6 of 13.
Will Scott is coming out and making all kinds of gambles out of his own defense, and that's what K-State needs.
Manning. Again, Newton mistimed the leap underneath. Kansas ball, however.
And Scooter Barry really was responsible for maintaining possession. He got his nose dirty underneath that glass.
So he's one of those guards going back to rebound.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he picked that up from his dad.
His dad was a pretty good rebounder in his day when he wanted to rebound.
5-10. Pritchard. He ends the drought. 3-pointer. He hit 40% from 3-point range last year, has struggled all this season.
And that should make it that much easier to get the ball inside for Kansas.
Richmond tries a 3-pointer. Piper with a foul on the rebound over the back.
Kansas foul number 24, Piper, his second.
You watch at the top of your screen, on the right of your screen, here comes Scott underneath a whole bunch of picks, and there's Barry. Had to come over the top of all of that to try and get to him. That's an awful lot of manpower to try and run between or through or over or even under to try to get to a good shooter.
Ball will be inbounded now by Richmond. 5 team fouls on Kansas State, 3 on Kansas. Neither team in the bonus yet. Scott for 3. Just a little off the mark. McCoy with the tip. No. McCoy gets it again. Foul on Piper.
Now, one thing that has been remarkable in the Kansas State corner in the games we've seen them is their ability to keep their poise under pressure. And I'm going to really look at what they do in this next 4.5 minutes, because they have shown some outstanding poise under tough conditions.
That foul was not on that man, Chris Piper. Instead, it was called on Kevin Pritchard, number 14, and that's his 3rd. McCoy? No. A little off balance when he released the ball.
Got to follow through to the hoop. Straight to the basket. He's going angling off to the side when he shoots it. That's like shooting, trying to hit a target with a quick draw. Shooting from the hip.
Lead is 7. Clock shows 4:35 to go.
Now they're extending the defense, K-State.
Manning, way out to 5. Shot clock at 18. Barry passes, kicks it off to Piper, takes the 2-pointer short. Richmond rebound. They did run about 30 seconds off the clock.
That was a good shot, too.
Richmond with 10 points today. Milt Newton has been on him most of the afternoon. Keith Harris sometimes. Now Barry comes out. Henson for 3. Richmond, great position on the rebound, and Newton fouled him.
Well, that's what makes Richmond so tough. He can play big and he can play small. And right then he played big, very much bigger than Milt Newton.
His second.
That's the 5th team foul on Kansas. So still not in the bonus. Lincoln Minor will come back in, and Scooter Barry will go to the Kansas bench.
Scooter Barry just has played an outstanding game for Kansas. What a job he did. His court awareness. They've been searching for a point guard to take a little of the responsibility away from Pritchard, let him get back into his shooting stroke, and I think Barry's provided that.
Went to his left again. Henson. Long rebound. Henson. Misses two. McCoy with a rebound. Great work on the board. The lead is down to 5.
Timeout, Kansas State.
By the way, this is the first time the Big 8 will have 2 teams in the Final Four. It's been accomplished 6 previous times. The Big 10 has done it twice. The Big East has done it twice, and the ACC once. And there's a chance of an all Big 8, all ACC Final Four this year. Arizona will have something to say about that a little later, though.
Kansas State has gone now to a man-to-man defense.
Oh, what a pass by Manning. And Piper can't get the basket, but he will shoot.
On a man-to-man, as soon as the ball went into the low post, Manning felt the double team more than saw it and knew where the opening was right away. That's one of the great things about Danny Manning, his intelligence.
Number 24, Piper will shoot for Kansas.
Here's the man-for-man. Tommy, why the change now?
I think they have to go out and be aggressive, show them something different, maybe get out into the passing lane and make a few steals. But if you're going to double Manning, then you better rotate quickly to the open people close to the hoop. And Manning's pass and recognition of what was going on was just right on the money. In fact, before he even got to the cashier's window. What a job.
Piper misses both. Newton with a rebound. He's had a huge game today.
A must game. Larry Brown said we need that type of game from Newton and one of our small people.
Milt Newton with 16 points. Richmond rims out. Rebound Manning in Kansas. 2:30 to go. 7-point lead Kansas. See if they work on the clock a little bit.
Well, they're going to have a tough time working on the clock with this man-to-man, but Manning will be able to handle the ball out there against Bledsoe.
Oh, underneath, backdoor cut. Scooter Berry.
Extending the man-to-man, little pick and a curl off it. A layup, beautiful read.
Richmond, 3 points. Scooter Berry rebound. Foul, McCoy. Berry will shoot. Larry Brown off the bench.
Kansas State foul number 44, McCoy, his second.
Larry Brown said he wanted Danny Manning's senior year to be something special. It has been.
Berry will shoot for
Danny Manning,
1-1.
who originally I think was slotted to be a forward on this ball club, is forced to play center when all their big people got hurt or were suspended for academics, what have you. And I think he's profited from this season immeasurably because he's become, in addition to a finesse player, he's learned how to play the power game. And that really makes him devastating.
Don't give up, baby.
2 for Berry. And a double-digit lead for the first time in the game. We've got less than 2 minutes to play. Henson, no. Berry, another rebound. 2-on-1. Pritchard. Bledsoe follows. Foul call.
Timeout, Kansas State.
There is Scooter Berry, who has 15 points today and a number of rebounds and just a terrifically alert ball game.
You know, we've heard many announcers talk about these situations where there's no tomorrow. And of course, there always is a tomorrow for the losing ball club. But you know what it feels like? I've been in these situations, and tomorrow, it would appear that Kansas State, after reaching to the biggest emotional peak, the adrenaline pumping through their veins, to bring them up to the super high, biggest high they ever had, they'll feel like they fell off a cliff. And that's a tough thing to overcome.
Coming up next, North Carolina against Arizona. Ron Meyer, 4-year player at Kansas State. He and Mark Dobbins. K-State came in favored. This, as we said, is the 4th time these two teams have met this year. Kansas won at K-State. K-State won at Kansas, and then K-State won in the Big 8 semis.
What Kansas did today to Kansas State's defense, after having seen it so many times, was know where the shots were going to be, and the players had a willingness to take those shots, and they were outside shots from the foul line in, mostly in the corners. Pritchard did it. Scooter Barry did it. All of them that were in that position, Newton did it. So they had several guys that were testing the interior defense of Kansas State all day long, and I think Kansas played that defense like an accordion, inside, outside.
One minute to go. Foul on Steve Henson.
Kansas State foul number 12. Henson, his fourth.
Archie Marshall, who was a starter the last time Kansas played Duke. That was in the semifinals of the Final Four in Dallas. He went out with a knee injury that cost him last year. Then he came back after all the rehabilitation, started this season, went out with the injury to St. John's, and in his honor, Danny Manning has worn the wristband with number 23 all year long. They also lost Marvin Branch to academics. There's Ed Manning, Danny's father, an assistant to Larry Brown. They've had various other discipline and academic problems, and who would have believed that the Kansas Jayhawks are going to make it back to the Final Four. They have a 14-point lead and less than a minute to go.
It takes a special breed to overcome the things that Kansas overcame this year. And Kansas State, too, they changed their style of play. But there's a tenaciousness, I believe, in Danny Manning that carried through the rest of his teammates. And also, guys like Piper. You don't see guys like Piper every day on a basketball court playing with the injuries that he had.
Larry Brown's going to make some substitutions now. Lon Kruger looks on. Mike Maddox, a freshman from Oklahoma City, coming in. Danny Manning going out.
Number 14, Pritchard, shooting for Kansas, 1-1.
At the line, Kevin Pritchard.
Number 45, Meyer, in for Kansas
Ron
State.
Meyer coming in for Mark Dobbins. 20 points, 6 rebounds. Below his average again, but I don't think he minds. And the senior, Mitch Richmond, 11 points. That equals his lowest point total of the year.
And his name, Mitch Richmond, you're going to hear about for a lot of years to come.
Two years ago, offensive foul. Two years ago, offensive foul. Larry Brown up. 2 years ago, Kansas won the regional in Kansas City to go to Dallas. They were heavily favored that year. But the longest of shots this year, finishing third in the Big Eight, and they're going to the Final Four again. They had a young man named Ryan Gray that the team adopted 2 years ago, a young man with an inoperable brain tumor. Ryan Gray is still here. And Kevin Pritchard celebrates on the sideline.
Number 54, Maddox. Number 11, Glover, in for Kansas State.
That young man is tough.
And what a game for Scooter Barry.
You hear him say is, yeah, he's a nice basketball player, but boy, did he respond to the challenge. Really emotionally, a big game to step up and then have the willingness to fail. That's a big factor that coaches look for in young players, and Scooter Barry did it.
The man who was fouled is Marvin Maddox. He's a senior from Pomona, California. He's going to go to the free throw line.
Number 21, Stanfield.
And among the many fascinating stories for this Kansas team, Here's Mike Maddox coming in. Marvin Maddox, number 54, is a senior. And in the win over Vanderbilt on Friday night, he scored the first 2 points of his career. And here is Marvin Maddox, the man about whom we're speaking, at the free throw line right now. That's Maddox. Misses.
Oh, could have had 3 points.
Hansen gets a three-pointer. Jayhawks have done it. They're going to Kansas City.